talk about Lamar Jackson. So obviously, the Ravens had hit him with the non-exclusive franchise tag, and it basically, I think their play was a way of showing Lamar the market for you isn't what you think it is. If you think you can go find out. And now this from Lamar Jackson just a short while ago. I want to first thank you all. This is basically he's asking for a trade. I won't read the whole thing.
There's 3 tweets, Jay. If you want to read them all, we'll just go through them real quick.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to him. Basically, he's asking for a trade. He's asking the Baltimore Ravens for a trade. You can see he's dated as of March 2nd. I requested a trade from the Ravens organization, of which the Ravens has not been interested in meeting my value. And any and everyone that's met me, blah, 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 win the Super Bowl. It's basically, so I think it seems like a goodbye letter more than anything else. The Ravens still hold his future in their hands unless he decides I don't want to play, which would be, I think, an even riskier move. But what do you guys make of this? And do you think that this is ultimately the last step in the relationship between Jackson and the Ravens?
I mean, in the NFL, players have not been able to push around the teams like they do in the NBA in general.
Yeah.
And usually when guys hold out, refuse to play, it doesn't go well for the player.
No.
In this case,
I always think of Le'Veon Bell.
Right. The difference is Lamar's a quarterback. Le'Veon Bell is a running back.
True.
And ultimately, I think if Lamar Jackson really refused to play and held out, that they would trade him eventually.
Yeah.
Usually players cave. Le'Veon didn't cave, but in the end it didn't work out for him. He went to the Jets. It was not a good contract.
Right.
And now he's out of football. Now, Lamar Jackson would eventually get a big contract from somebody because he's a quarterback who has shown you greatness.
Sure.
The greatness hasn't been consistent the last couple of years. He's had injuries. Those are some negatives. But there's been greatness there, and there are certainly enough teams that in the right
When you say
circumstances-
big contract, what are you thinking? Because there's a difference between his idea of big contract and the Ravens.
I think, and that's the tricky thing here. Like, ultimately, I want to say, my first thought was, well, ultimately someone will pay him a ton of money, maybe guarantee it all, because I'm desperate for a quarterback.
Right.
You know, when Lamar first got in this situation, a lot of people were screaming, collusion, collusion, collusion. And my first reaction was, well, nothing's happened yet. Let's give it some time. And we still need more time to see how it plays out. However, I do think it's not crazy to think that the league has gotten together and said, the Deshaun Watson contract put us all in a tricky spot, and nobody's going and that we may work together not to sign this guy.
That's an interesting point, Bull, because I think that once can be a mistake, and the rest of the league clearly looks at the Deshaun contract as a mistake. I think that you're right. I think the second one, it becomes a trend.
That's it.
And then the third one, it's the norm. And they do not want this to be the norm.
And you wonder, are teams waiting to see what happens this offseason with Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert?
Could be.
Because
that's the next one that's going to sort of set the bar, won't it?
Right, because especially Burrow, because he's gotten deeper in the playoffs than Lamar.
Right.
With Herbert, who personally I'd rather have than Lamar. However, he hasn't done it. He never won a playoff
and
game.
Burrow's more the prototypical pro-style NFL quarterback.
If Burrow gets all guaranteed, then
all bets are off. Yeah, I think then the norm becomes the Mahomes kind of player.
Right.
Not every quarterback,
right?
But your top 6 or 8 are going to get the Burrow.
However, if Burrow doesn't, then Lamar loses his leverage, I think. Because Lamar could say, well, Deshaun got it, so I should. But if Burrow doesn't, after Murray didn't, then Lamar has less of a case to say I should get the fully guaranteed.
Is there a chance
Doesn't mean he can't fight for it, but
is there a chance the Bengals could do the Burrow contract now and shock
absolutely.
Everybody?
I mean, this is the offseason. They should do it.
Yeah, I mean if
right
you're going to do it, it would be between now and August, wouldn't it?
Yes.
And
most likely.
But it'd mess up their cap this year, though. That's why they usually wait till
well,
next
no,
season, right?
because you could.
It's all. You could sign a future. It would be a futures deal.
The Bengals have cap room anyway.
Yeah, and you wouldn't have to affect the money for this year at all.
And it wouldn't necessarily affect the money.
Right, you could just fix first year, so it's the same as what it is.
It could technically be a new contract starting next year.
And do you, as a fan, expect them to do that? Do you want them to do that?
I definitely want them to.
Sure. Do you think
I
Burrow
do
will do
expect
it?
him to, and I do expect him to sign.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of it's going to, I can't imagine the Bengals are going to want to give even Joe Burrow 100% fully guaranteed. I mean, if there was one quarterback you'd think would be comfortable giving a full guarantee, at this point, outside of Mahomes, it would be Burrow.
If you took away his former ACL tear, I would agree with that.
But I'm saying, like, if you had to give a guaranteed contract to anybody,
I think
it
you're
would
right.
be Mahomes 1, and then it would probably be Burrow 2.
And even Burrow because he's younger.
Right.
Not much, though.
Not
No,
much
but
younger
he's
than Mahomes.
2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still,
I mean,
I
it
would
goes-
still
it goes- it
to
goes
me, it would still be
Mahomes, then
Mahomes
Burrow.
1 and Burrow 2.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I still think in the end, his contract will not be fully guaranteed, is my guess.
Yeah.
And that, if you're Lamar, you want Burrow to get a fully guaranteed
Sure you
contract.
do. Yeah.
So
But we'll see.
He, I'll give him credit. As I was doing the calculations, I was moving the abacus around in my head.
Love a good
I was trying to figure out what we was getting at, and then it dawned on me. We got to look at the whole Deshaun Watson move. See, the Deshaun Watson 230 is subject and predicate, right? That 230, he didn't get that immediately. He had to sit out first. So Lamar Jackson saw like, oh, okay. He said, I'm not playing for you no more. And so when he sat out that year, what it did, it gave the market time to catch up a little bit. So now the teams that were bad, they started taking L's that year. There's always going to be a team that's for something.
And desperate.
And desperate.
That's what you need. You need a team that's so desperate
Right.
they'll overpay.
And so,
like the Browns.
So when
Yes.
Deshaun Watson chilled out for that year, he automatically had 5 teams that said, we can't take this no more. And out of those 5 teams, some of them couldn't get up to get a top quarterback.
Right.
Some of them wasn't in contention for that. Some of them can't get a draft pick to draft the number 1. So guess what? Deshaun Watson became the prize. So Lamar Jackson actually is looking at what Deshaun Watson did in totality, and this is the first step of him saying, oh, if y'all not going to willfully give it to me, somebody will. Now, if he sits out a year, they may say, well, is that going to be bad for Lamar Jackson? No, not really, because you know what his game is. So you telling me Lamar Jackson only going to train, get faster, work on his game, and then he's going to come back in a year? They'll say he's...
How old is Lamar?
How much
26,
is Lamar?
27?
He's young.
They're all young.
I think he's younger than that.
He might be 26. So you tell me he come back 27,
Yeah.
fully healed.
Now,
Which is where Deshaun Watson
to
is,
be
by
fair,
the way.
Deshaun
He
Watson
just turned 26 for the record.
just turned 26. Now, to be fair, Deshaun Watson didn't hold out because of money.
No.
He
No.
just didn't want to play for the
Well,
Texans.
Didn't want to play for the
anymore.
Texans
But
anymore.
That was a little different. But Lamar doesn't have any of the baggage that Deshaun Watson
None.
had.
No, now, here's the things that I think that GMs would think about.
Yeah.
The injury risk, even though Deshaun is a guy that will take off and go, I just think Deshaun is a better passer. Mm-hmm. So
He is.
I think that I'm less concerned about his game being sustainable, because if you took the run piece away from him, I think he can still be a very good quarterback. But I don't know about Lamar, because when teams pinch him and make him sit in that pocket and beat you with the arm, he hasn't been able to consistently do that. And that's, I think, the difference between Jackson and Watson.
Yeah, I think Jackson's is a better thrower than he's given credit for, but he's not great.
No,
he's
he's
great.
not a Mahomes.
If you took away Watson's running, he's still if he's the player in Houston as a thrower,
Still a very
he's still
good
a top 10
quarterback.
quarterback.
Yes, I think
Lamar,
so.
I'm not sure is a top 10.
I don't
he's not
either.
crap,
But
No,
his
no.
talent.
he's not as good.
But
How many people would take a swing at that?
But I think but at his age, you do it because
Doesn't he
I
have-
don't think Lamar Jackson's playing at a high level at 35. But he should still play at a high level
Until 30,
late
I think
20s.
he can do what
Yes.
he's doing.
So a 5-year, 4-year contract, I
Right.
still think he
Here's
can be
my,
really
my,
good.
my wonder. This is what,
Yeah.
you can write this down on a piece of paper if you're Lamar and see if you made the right play. Sometimes in life, the game plays out and you can look back and say, I took the wrong fork in the road. Didn't he tweet at one point 3/133?
Correct.
I need an agent. Well, if you look at that 133, just that part of it, that's $45 million a year guaranteed.
Right.
So what the Ravens did, they said, look, we'll meet you halfway. We'll give you the most money annually. We'll give you 133 over 3, and we'll guarantee it. But we just don't feel comfortable going 5 like the Browns did.
I think what happened here, and this is I've been in counseling before, and the counselor has told me, listen, one of the things you want to do if you want to be in a marriage, first thing you got to understand is do not embarrass your wife in public, right? Just don't do it. So when you see Lamar Jackson, he's sitting here, right? When Daniel Jones is going through his stuff, when you got Aaron Rodgers going through his situation, when you got all these other guys that are going through it and they're doing other different things that kind of be like their team could come out and bash them a little bit, right? He says these guys are operating behind closed doors. They're not doing nothing. But you out here, I'm a franchise quarterback. I done put on for y'all. And y'all out here talking about don't talk to this agent. They making you look crazy. Like Lamar Jackson's out here he has his next door neighbor negotiate for him.
By the way, some of his teammates said not great things about Lamar last year, insinuating that he wasn't playing.
Right.
Right, which, and that's not the team's fault, that's the players. But maybe who knows? The situation's ugly.
He's
and
not
here's
going
the
back.
thing, like, I bet you Lamar, if some other team offered him that 3-year, 133, would take it. Right? Because it's a good contract. And
it's a great contract.
If he plays great, he'll get a huge contract after that. He'd still be young enough.
But I feel like he looking at the Ravens like
F you.
Like you could give me the money, but you're not respecting me.
Right.
You backhanded.
Wait, $45 million a year is a lot of respect.
No, not the contract. He's saying how you going about negotiating the deal. Like how he is when you got people that's leaking stuff because he don't got an agent. So they putting stuff in the press. They putting stuff out there.
What did they put out? I don't know. I didn't see what they put out.
Listen.
He put out the years and the terms.
The perception is
that's unheard of.
The perception is from the organization, we don't think you're worth that. And when they made it, and when they did the non-exclusive,
worth what?
We don't think you're worth what you with the contract that you want, right?
Well, that's the negotiation. Yeah, he wants more. They want to pay less.
So when they put him on the non-negotiable contract, right? So basically other teams can bid on it.
Yeah.
I don't think he liked that. I thought he was trying to. He said, "You gonna put me out there like you gonna gauge my worth based on what they offer."
I thought, you know what? That's a good point. I can see why he would be angry. But here's the thing: you have got to look at it from the Ravens standpoint. Mm-hmm. Why would you overpay? So, for instance, what they did to him was kind of a service. Oh, we have valued your abilities, and our calculator tells us you're worth $45 million bet for 3 years. That's what we think. No, that's not enough. I want more, and I want guaranteed. So what the Ravens then did was said, okay, maybe we're misreading the market. Maybe we're wrong. Go prove us wrong. Mm-hmm. Find someone that's going to pay you $175 for 4, or $225 for 5, and then we'll match it.
Right.
But we're not going to. It's like you're bidding against yourself. That's what the Browns did on the Watson deal.
So
this way, I thought it was kind of a gentleman's punt, as you call it.
It was.
They're like,
look,
though, you might be worth more, and we could be wrong. And if we're wrong, then we'll make the decision whether or not we want to enter the poker game at those stakes. But here's what we're willing to pay you.
But it's not apples to apples because he's saying, well, either teams feel like the Ravens are going to match it, so they're not going to give me a contract anyway. Because what's the point if the Ravens are going to match it?
I don't know.
But even if these teams are like, well, the Ravens won't match it, it's still not apples to apples because they got to pay him and give up 2 first-round picks.
They do. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. So it's punitive.
Yes.
But
worth it.
Look what the Browns did.
Right.
The Browns gave up 3 first-round picks.
Right.
And paid. Every time I say these terms out loud, I'm like, that didn't happen.
But
it did not happen.
And by the way, kudos after our conversation yesterday. G or somebody was putting out a bunch of videos of I don't know if you saw this.
I did. I saw a video of him working out. Is that recent? I hope.
Oh,
they were. Yes.
How do we know when that was taken?
I mean, or at least it's posted on his Instagram recently.
And by the way, I didn't think it was much of a deal.
Okay.
I didn't think the vacation Instagram was a big deal, and I don't think the working out Instagram is a big deal.
No.
We'll find out this season how much work you
and
did.
that's what I said last week.
Field.
What I said last week was you can't hide what you've done in the offseason. And here's the thing.
Yeah.
Like on the Instagram, like if you want to tweet that you went on vacation, that's fine. People in general are smart enough to understand Well, just because he did 5 commercials in the offseason doesn't mean that he spent his entire offseason shooting commercials.
Right.
Yeah, right.
But we
Same
bring
thing
on
with
that when you
Instagram.
play poorly.
But what I said was, and I stand by it,
yeah.
he doesn't do himself any favors with the optics when
That's
what
true.
he's putting out there is the worldwide tour.
That's true, and that might not matter. And again, if he plays great, nobody's going to give a rat's ass about it.
No one will care.
But at this point, when he can't prove anything,
Right,
yes,
it's tough.
It's not great
tough.
optics.
See, here's the thing, because I did hear a lot of the people when Baker was shooting all those commercials, like, well, of course he sucks. He spent the whole offseason. No, he didn't. But it's a bad look.
Right.
You give someone a stick to beat you with later
when
that's what you're putting out there. Now, on the flip side, I want to see those workout videos. I do. Because it shows me that he is spending some time in the gym, and then he can also have his own stick to fight back with.
Right.
Yeah, I went to Paris and London.
Yeah, exactly.
And I saw the
kicked ass.
world. But I also worked my ass off. And here's the thing. It's always in the pudding. Always.
That's right. We'll know.
We will know almost instantly what he did in the offseason.
Patrick Mahomes does more commercials than anybody. Nobody
And
cares
nobody
'cause he-
works harder when he's not
Right,
doing
exactly.
commercials.
McNuggets, what you got?
I got one question for you guys before we pivot to the power rankings that are coming out, which are now even a little less relevant because Lamar may or may
Yeah,
not
I
be.
know. I wonder
But
how these would be affected.
question for you guys, real quick answer. If Lamar is not a Raven next year, what team will he play on in 2023?
Jets.
Colts.
Hold on, the Jets.
I'm not sure the Jets are closing the Rodgers deal.
They better.
They done moved heaven and earth.
Heard a little, yeah. But you know what? If they don't, what is New York going to do?
Well, the only option is Lamar.
That's it. And I don't trust Aaron Rodgers either. I don't trust Aaron
Right, he
Rodgers.
could just retire.
What if he went back in his dark cave and
Yeah.
decided, you know what? Now the darkness is telling me to quit.
If they can't get
You
Rodgers,
know, that's
like,
kind of fickle.
Yeah, that's
they
kinda
have a
crazy.
team that, if they had a good quarterback, should be. I think I did a podcast on Friday where I said, long way to go, but I said, assuming the Jets get Aaron Rodgers, even though I'm not that high on Aaron Rodgers, that I think the Jets and Browns would be the 2 new playoff teams next year, that they would be the 6th and the 7th
Yeah.
seed.
I-
but that
yeah.
obviously, if Rodgers or Lamar are not their
If
quarterback,
you're Miami, would you think about, and I don't even know if Baltimore would do it, but I could see Lamar in Miami because he's from Florida.
yeah.
They're South Beach Splash right now. That they're
Well,
going all in. Lamar would be a great piece, and trade Tua
Indianapolis.
to what's that?
Indianapolis, like who's their quarterback?
Yeah, but Indianapolis is light years away. They're probably the worst team in the NFL.
I would say the Commanders are a good spot.
the enemy?
I think the Atlanta
Where?
I think
Washington with the enemy.
I think the Atlanta Falcons would be a smash. People down there in Atlanta would be.
But they're not a very good team either.
I mean,
well,
but
they did a lot. They made a lot of
did
moves.
A lot of moves, and they got some pieces. They got some pieces at receiver.
I think let's do this.
Wait, can I give you my dream scenario? real
Go
quick?
ahead, sure.
San Francisco.
Oh, San Francisco
Oh,
make the move.
I don't like that move. I
Gets
don't
him
like
out
that.
the
Why
AFC.
not?
Yeah, but look at I mean,
Gets him out the AFC and him in that
And-
Kyle Shanahan offense.
And that's it. And he's like the missing link, then,
Hey.
isn't he?
Well,
Hey.
if I'm the Niner, but
Hey,
there's
Niners can't pay him. It's unrealistic. They can't afford
No,
it.
I know
But
they
I'm just
can't.
saying that's my dream
But
scenario.
man, oh,
there's
man.
always a way to find a way to pay a guy.
Well, Garoppolo, he's off.
He's
And
gone.
he was.
Yeah, but they
paid
signed
him.
Hargrave. That Hargrave contract essentially took the
maybe
Garoppolo.
they want Trey Lance. Hey, you want Trey Lance, Baltimore?
Hey, listen, you can finagle the cap however you want.
Trade Hargrave to Baltimore. in the
Where we
deal.
sit right now, how many of us think that Lamar Jackson will be the starting quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens in Week 1? Raise your hand.
Oh no! When Jason said he's never playing again, I
I guess at this
co-signed
point
it.
I'll say
Yeah,
no.
I think that ship is sailed.
I guess to me, I think where he's playing, I don't think he plays next year. I think he sits out. Baltimore won't trade him, and he's not going to play
See,
next year.
the only bad thing about that is you lose a full year of your earning potential, and at some point you ask this question: $45 million is what you lost, guaranteed. He could have made $45 million to play.
Yeah.
And so, are you going to make up that $45 million on the backside when
Yeah.
you're a year older?
I tell
Probably
him
It's a
not,
tough
but-
play,
I
man.
tell him, listen, Lamar, take the 3. I tell him, give me 160 for 3.
By the way,
But what's the difference when you boil it all down? It's
Yeah.
$27 million more. It's $9 million more
Yeah.
a year.
It's-
You've got $45 million for 3 years in a row. That's generational money. It's more than you'll ever need.
It's a you-know-what measuring contest.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right.
by the
Yeah,
way,
you're right.
Indianapolis.
It is.
Is Indianapolis worse than Atlanta? Didn't they win
Yeah.
more games than Atlanta last year?
Indianapolis last year, just by the eye test, was
Yeah,
freaking
but they
terrible.
got what's his name, the young wide receiver.
Michael Pittman's really good.
Michael Pittman's
Yeah,
really
Pittman
good. You
is
got a
good.
great back in Jonathan Taylor. I don't know. And Indy's desperate. I think they're the most desperate for a quarterback.